How's everybody tonight? Dance to that. My name is Chris Quinlan and welcome to this scary night. It's Halloween weekend. And what we have here is the, the metallic marimba. There we go. I'll take them out just for a second. And what we've got, Chris Quinlan here, Melbourne Musos Facebook Live every Friday at 6 o'clock on the little dot. And what I'm doing tonight is a triangle. Frank Zappa. Harry Partch is the name of the man. And a name some of you Zappa fanatics might know from the Tinseltown Rebellion album, which is live, 1981. When Frank Zappa was introducing the band at the end of that album. And he said, let's hear it for another great Italian, Conlon Nancarrow. And that's who I'm going to talk about. Those two men. I've talked a lot about Frank Zappa, but there's a bit of a triangle because what happens is that when you're listening, if you love the more out there stuff, like a couple of weeks ago I did excerpts from the Black Page, #1. I've played the whole thing in the past. I'm not going to do that tonight because I want to talk about two great men who were very different. They're a little bit classical composers, but off the tracks. Okay, now, when you're talking about Frank Zappa and classical music, you can't get past Edgard Varese because Frank Zappa loved Edgard Varese. Now, organised sound. It all sounds all over the place. You know, that kind of thing. But there is rhyme and reason to it. And then what happens is that Conlon Nancarrow and Harry Partch are right on the outside and the outskirts. So you can call it avant-garde classical music. But they had a real system, okay? A real system to their playing. Now, one of the things that Harry Partch did, I'll read about him, I'll get his bio in just a minute or two. But one of his big things was microtonal music, okay? He would get in between the notes. We know a chromatic scale, okay? If you're looking at a guitar, it's the 12 frets, all that. He had 46, I think, or was it 43? I'll find out. But come on, Chris. And but he had devised a whole system for this music. And then he built his own instruments to get the music out. And there is a real foundation of that now. The people that worked with him, the musicians and all that, kept it going after his passing and so on. There you go, I'll read about him in a minute. And the other man, Conlon Nancarrow, was devising music that started to become, like Zappa would say, some of the stuff is physically impossible to play, that kind of thing. And so what Conlon Nancarrow did, was get a player piano. Okay, do you all know what a player piano is? When Dad took on the Dan O'Connell Hotel in 1963, and I was a little whippersnapper, 3 years old, there was this piano, and it had all these piano rolls, and Dad would put it on. This is how it works, son. That kind of thing, and you'd pump away. And the rolls would go out and there'd be little holes in them and you'd get the song. And when I grew up, that kind of thing, the piano was still there, got moved into the ladies' lounge and from the beer garden, or it was the storehouse for the grog, but into the ladies' lounge. And I used to get the rolls. I'd pump away as fast as I could. So it was all, it was all these little, da 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 da, ra da 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 da. Is my lady love? It'll be going. She's my lady love. Everything 3 times fast. pumping away. Fantastic. So Conlon Nancarrow would get his own piano rolls and started doing all this impossible music. And it was just, it's like, I always wondered who it was when I was listening to Tinseltown Rebellion album with Frank Zappa. I'd say, who's Conlon Nancarrow? And then I looked him up and go, oh, I see. He's there with Edgard Varese and all that side of Zappa, you know, the classical weird-ass side. So, but I'll get to talking about them. But, and then I'll get to sort of demonstrate their techniques. Conlon Nancarrow in particular used to do incredible things with the, if you listen to some of his work, he'd have this amazing thing where it'd be, if you're playing piano, it'd be the left hand would slow down as the right hand speeds up and then vice versa, and it's just these studies, and it was just like, I don't know what I'm listening to, but it sounds great. There you go. But I'll start with Harry Partch. Harry Partch. And here we go. Here we go. Harry Partch. June 20. Every time I looked it up and I'd say it into like that, it'd come up Harry Potter every time. But anyway. Harry Partch, June 24th, 1901 to September the 3rd, 1974, was an American composer, music theorist, and creator of unique musical instruments. He composed using scales of unequal intervals in just intonation is what it's called, just intonation, and was one of the first 20th century composers in the West to work systematically with microtonal scales. Alongside Lou Harrison, of which I have one of the vinyls in the other room. Lou Harrison worked for percussion. It was wonderful. He built his own instruments, that's Partch, in these tunings on which to play his compositions, and described the method behind his theory and practice in his book, Genesis of a Music, 1947. There it is there. I'll put him up here and there you go. Partch composed with scales dividing the octave 43, Chris. I did say 43, I said 46, but I misspoke. It's 43 unequal tones derived from the natural harmonic series. These scales allowed for more tones of smaller intervals than in standard Western tuning, which uses 12 equal intervals to the octave. To play his music, Partch built many unique instruments with such names as the chromalodion. Here we go. This almost sounds dirty. The quadrangulus reversum. Oh, sorry. And the zimoxyle. Hello, I'm Zimoxyle. How you going? How you hanging? Partch described his music as corporeal and distinguished it from abstract music. He wasn't much of a fan of John Cage. For everything that Harry Partch did, he was really quite exact. Whereas John Cage, who's another one of the out there composers, would rely on chance music. But he everything that Partch did had it was written down and a certain purpose. There you go. So there was contrast. There you go. Which he perceived, abstract music, which he perceived as the dominant trend in Western music since the time of Bach. Marley's over there. Wake up. What are you doing? He's dead to the world here. Okay. Little Jacques Offenbachs. Anyway, there you go. His earliest compositions were small-scale pieces to be in tone to instrumental backing. His later works were large-scale, integrated theatre productions in which he expected each of the performers to sing, dance, speak, and play instruments. Ancient Greek theatre and Japanese no and kabuki heavily influenced his music theatre. There you go, that's Harry Partch. Now, when you're doing the 43, all that sort of biz, you start to get into some of the things that happen in other cultures, such as Chinese culture. There's the kabuki, Japanese culture, different tonal systems, Middle Eastern tones, and then you're dealing with a different kind of scale, these kinds of things. Now, when you're getting into microtones, if you've got a fretted guitar, you get the bends, you bend up halfway. It might be, you might go from C, and instead of C sharp, it's C half sharp, and things like that. And there you go. But there's even more in between that, and there you are. So what would happen? I've got. One of the things about Harry Partch's music, it's. I was listening to one, and it had a regular tempo all the way through, but the tonal side was out there. So it was sort of like. Something like that. There you go. And it's just regular. And Frank Zappa liked his stuff, although his only critique was sometimes it just goes on and on and on and on. But you could say that about you, Frank. That kind of thing. It goes for ages. And one of the things about Frank Zappa's music is that, especially his classical side of things, is that he would have complex clusters, like waves of sound. So it would be like... So it'd be like that bit, and then that bit, and then that bit, that kind of thing. Say I wasn't going to play the Black Page, but there's a bit there. There you go. There you go. Oh yeah. Back to Partch. You could sort of dance to that. That kind of thing. Anyway, there you go. Now I'm going to move on to Conlon Nancarrow. Here we go. And there we are. With the player piano and the memories of the player piano in the Dan O'Connell. Back in the, as long as I was there, 63 through to 76, the piano was always there. I hope someone did not get rid of it. I wish we could have just taken it with us. I had such a ball with that kind of thing. Pumping away. There you go. The only thing, I had a lot of fun with it. There you go. Anyway, player piano. Here I'll get there. There we are. And off we go. Samuel Conlon Nancarrow, October 27th, 1912 to August 10, 1997, was an American-Mexican composer who lived and worked in Mexico for most of his life. Nancarrow is best remembered for his studies for player piano, being one of the first composers to use auto-playing musical instruments. Realizing their potential to play far beyond human performance ability, he lived most of his life in relative isolation and did not become widely known until the 1980s. It's got quite the story because I'll get there too. But essentially, he just did his work in Mexico. He came into a little bit of money, and he went to America and bought the punching machine for the piano rolls and just went to work for years and years and years. And quite an amazing story. And it was only towards the end of his life that he started to get really recognised. And let's do it for hear it for another great Italian, Conlon Nancarrow. There you go. He's not Italian, that was just a Zappa joke, that one. anyway, there you go. And what happened is he would punch the thing, punch the rolls. And what would happen with that? Here's the contrast between Partch and Nancarrow, in the sense that Harry Partch would use, I haven't finished, I'll come back to that. Harry Partch would use the microtones, and build instruments to get there and to get them, kind of thing. And there's big glass bowls, and he'd hit them, but glass, these are bell cymbals, but that kind of thing. And he would be quite specific. He'd write music, that sort of thing. And like I said, a bit of a contrast again to John Cage. But Conlon Nancarrow used a piano, so he was quite tonal. He used the chromatic scale. However, his rhythms were off the wall. And what would happen is that he would do, he'd do almost mathematical business, in the sense that you probably noticed I'm splashing the hi-hat at an even tempo. And then write that down. Things like that. And then he would multiply things. If I did this, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, if I treated that as a triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and threshold, under the threshold, over, under, over, under. Over and under, is that the name of that piece is over and under. Under and over and out. So you got 3 there, right? Now, in just straight musical terms, you could turn them into sextuplets by adding in a left hand. If I put in 2, I'm tripleting the triplet. So it'd be a non-uplet, 9 of them. If I did double stroke rolls, that'd be 12. I call them lovingly dozen uplets, but there's a do-deca, duca, dicca, dicka, duca uplet. So one of my students told me once, he had them all down. So that's a do-deca, deca, rapulum. And I've gone, thanks. I need to pay you now. So there's 12, you see? 1 and 2 and 3 and... You don't have to count. 1 is 12 or anything like that. So there you go there. Can you still hear the flow? And then if I was to go... I'm doing 4 to every triplet. So 4, triplet 3, 4 times 3, 12. Dozen uplets. If I did 5, I'd get 15. Now if I use the sticking right, left, left, I could go... Are you still with me? Hello, audience. There it is. Now, if I do a paradiddle-diddle, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. That's 6, 3, 18 notes. Are you sick of the cow? So what I'm doing here is doing more of a Conlon Nancarrow kind of a deal here, where I might have a regular pulse, but now on the face of it, I'm just slowing down, but I keep a regular tempo with my left foot. You get some of the ostinato greats like a Terabozio and people like that who will do something amazing with their feet and essentially play a melody, that kind of thing. That's the reason why he's got the drums that he's got. That's why I've got the piccolos on the left side of Doris as their actual notes. When I think like that, I think like a guitar. And I've actually got them. I'll take them out for a minute, but... There it is. There you go. And I think of it like a guitar. Like if I'm doing a pentatonic like that, it's 1 4 1 3 1 3. Fingers. Can you tap it out, mate? There you go. And that's what I do. And then when I add the other things to it, I get an overlapping thing, especially if I'm doing Mixolydian modes or overtone scales like I did last week, whatever it might be, or the other week, I should say. That episode was on Wednesday, just the other night. But anyway, there you go. But you see, there's the tonic there if I'm going to do it that way. But what happens, I'll put them back in, back to weird ass, and this is more the Conlon Nancarrow thing, because he'd multiply the rhythms like I just did with the triplets. He'd have one side slowing down, the other side speeding up. There'd be crazy melodies. It'd be tonal. When Frank Zappa first heard about him, it was Jimi Hendrix's sound engineer that introduced Conlon Nancarrow to Frank Zappa in around about 1967. So how's that for connections and stuff? But what happens is, what happened with Frank Zappa and stuff like that is that when Frank Zappa got the synclavier, I always called it the synclavier. A lot of other people got the Fairlight, like Stuart Copeland got a Fairlight. But Frank Zappa actually sought out Conlon Nancarrow and wanted him to come round to the Zappa's house to say, hey Conlon, have a look at what this synclavier can do, that kind of thing, which would have stopped Conlon going with his piano rolls and just sat at the computer and all that. I don't know if that eventuated, but it's certainly there. I'd love to get him to the house. There's the quote from Frank Zappa. I'd love to get Conlon Nancarrow to the house and show him the synclavier. I think he'd work miracles with it. These days, you just have Sibelius or Coda Finale, if that's still going. Seems everyone's using Sibelius now, but and if you want to get started, use MuseScore. Free download. Write whatever you want and try and play it. Things about this is going back to Harry Partch. You get this crazy microtonal out there stuff, but his rhythmic side was very straight, whereas Conlon Nancarrow used the piano, so it was still chromatic scale business, but his rhythms were out there. So even here, there's a pulse. I don't know why I finished on that bit anyway. Oh, I better get a wriggle on. Oh, I was going to read something else. I just looked at the time then. Oh, a gift of the gab today. Nancarrow was born in Texarkana, Arkansas. He played trumpet in a jazz band in his youth before studying music first in Cincinnati, Ohio, and later in Boston, Massachusetts with Roger Sessions, Walter Piston, and Nicholas Slaninsky, who I did a whole show on about a month ago with dear Alan Zavod. May he rest in peace, with the thesaurus of melodic patterns. There you go. He met Arnold Schoenberg during that composer's brief stay in Boston in 1933, and then it goes on to his private life and all sorts of business. And then when we go across to Harry Partch, he had quite the life as well. Go look him up. He was a proper hobo kind of thing. When he wasn't composing his music, he just set out on the road, that kind of thing. And away you go. And he was quite proud of it too. And he'd come back and use that experience, life experience, and all the ups and downs and in-betweens. And then he'd write the music. Man, he was just focused. You know, that's what you got to do. Burr. My kind of thing there. And there you go. And yes, there you go. He went to temporarily buoyed by an inheritance. Nancarrow travelled to New York City in 1947 and bought a custom-built manual punching machine to enable him to punch the piano rolls. The machine was an adaptation of one used in the commercial production of rolls, and using it was very hard work and very slow. And basically he just sat in his back room and just went just did all this amazing stuff. And he just did his work. That's all it was. And just kept on going. And later on in life, you know, you had people like Frank Zappa saying, listen to this guy, you know, and then he got an endowment of something like $300,000 a year for 5 years because people just discovered this genius who's just chipping away in his little Mexican house with his missus and the whole thing, you know, sort of thing. So it was really a genius disguised, you know, hiding in plain sight, you know, that kind of thing. So I'll get a wriggle on and I'll end the show. Tonight is about two fantastic musicians out there. Harry Partch, that is P-A-R-T-C-H, and Conlon Nancarrow. Frank Zappa is the connecting part. He's almost like the gateway to this kind of music. It certainly was for me. Edgar Varese, I mean, because Frank Zappa kept talking about him all the time. I searched him out and went, the Mad Professor. Well, his two fellow scientists. And I hope you like the show. It's a bit out there, but go and check it out. And very contrasting, even though they're of the same bag, you know, sort of avant-garde classical music. What happens is that Harry Partch, microtonal, Conlon Nancarrow, tonal, using a piano, chromatic scale, but his rhythmic side was off the planet, you know, because he would do that. And then, and then Zappa actually set him on, put him on the record, and wanted him to come to the house and check out his synclavier and all that. So, I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Thank you. Bye, audience. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'll do a bit more. Oh, now I love and leave you. There you are. Take care. I'll have this up tomorrow for you. Hey!